Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap here on February the 11th of 2019. I am Nick, here with Chris. This is Weekly Manga Recap.
Is it?
Stuff. Is it? I don't know. I said that I welcome people to Weekly Manga Recap, and then I said this is Weekly Manga Recap. So obviously, it's like one of those things where he says like "welcome," and then people are like "welcome to what?" It's like, this
To
house
to the greatest show on earth, ladies and gentlemen.
that's a lot of pressure to live up to now.
Yep. We don't have elephants or whatever other stuff circuses have to have originally owned
Circuses
that title.
don't have elephants either.
Well, they used to back when they existed, but now they don't. So we gotta do this.
Yep, this is what happens when people grow consciousness about animal abuse. Is that instead you get a bunch of nerds talking about shit.
You know what? The first time I ever really heard someone use the term pet peeve, Nick, not to take us on a tangent, but we're already into it. So the first time I ever heard someone ever use the term a pet peeve was my mom, who would always state that her biggest pet peeve was monkeys in clothing. And she was always very annoyed by that. And I was like, I don't know, like, because as a kid, you're like, no, the monkey fucking loves being put up in a little suit, right? Like, why wouldn't he?
I think that some of them really don't care, but
maybe, I don't know.
Fucking phone notifications, man. No, I get that though. It's like, that dog loves being put in that sweater, doesn't he?
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a very difficult.
You can never know the mind of an animal. Yeah.
All right. Before we talk about manga, Nick, do we want to put out any hot takes on Will Smith as the genie?
It looks terrifying. I thought the press release photo that they put out with him just in like the genie garb looked fine, and then it's like, no, he's a blue CGI monstrosity, and his face doesn't actually match up where the part on his head it should be. It's like, okay.
It's like I'm watching the deepfakes, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
It. Like my brain's just like, this isn't 100% natural, but it's trying to trick itself into thinking it is.
Yeah, it's like, no, this looks good, right?
Brain's like, I'm not 100%. It seems, you know what? Let's just go with it.
It's close, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about manga, Nick.
Manga.
What happened this week, Nick, in manga?
Honestly, like, before I started prepping for the show about an hour and a half ago, I was like, what the fuck happened this week? But that's partially because there were a couple series that I hadn't read, so that hurts when you're trying to remember the stuff that happened this week. But let's just jump into it. Let's just go through this sequentially and see how much of it Nick actually remembers. Why don't we? Because I don't know. Every time that I tried to actually prepare for the show today, I was just like, I don't really want to read manga right now. I'm tired. I want to put my head down. So let's kick things off with My Hero Academia. Number 216, Class A versus Class B. Conclusion. It's over, Chris. No more of this team fighting. Deku's team wins. He took down Shinso basically to draw the final match to his conclusion. And Shinso has, like a sequence of like flashback regret sort of thing. And he sees, he remembers a lot of how all the different students doing their best in order to win, and he's just like, God, this sucks. But he also says, these guys are actually really impressive. But everyone in Class B has been thrown in the jail. Class A wins 4-0.
So. I believe we are also given all of the hero names for the characters of Class 1B.
Phantom Thief, Rule, Minds, and Emily.
It's got spooky type font, so it's Spooky Emily.
Actually, I should note that one of them actually didn't get thrown in the prison because she was stuck to a post by Midas. Yeah, so
they only needed 4 in there. So
yeah. So everyone strikes a victory pose. Class A wins overall because they have won 3 of the 5 matches with 1 draw. And so everyone celebrates. Shinso goes over to Aizawa and he's like, hey, so this is a test for me to transfer into the hero course, wasn't it? And Black King's like, how did you know? It's like, well, I mean, like, everyone would have suspected that.
He's like, I mean, it seemed super possible considering, like, the timing of everything.
Yeah. But he says, like, I feel as though this is a sign that I really screwed up. And Aizawa says, like, oh, let's go over stuff with everyone. And first off, he talks to Midoriya and he says, what the fuck happened out there? Black tendrils coming out your goddamn arms. And Deku is just like, okay, well, I can't tell everyone about this, but I guess I can't just fob it all off. So he just says, I don't really know. Power welled up inside me, and I couldn't control it, and it was scary at first, but then eventually Uraraka and Shinso, when they helped me, I realized that, you know, this is my own power, so I knew I didn't have to be so afraid. And he thanks both of them, and Shinso's just like, I was just trying to, you know, brainwash him. Okay. Ashido kind of teases Uraraka because she, you know, calmed Deku down by jumping up and hugging him. But she, despite the fact that she turns a different shade, does kind of recover quickly enough to say, like, hey, you know, in the future, before I wanted to act while thinking, but if the alternative is doing nothing and regretting it, then I'm happier with jumping in. And Aizawa, you know, thinks that this is a real sign of maturation from her. It's like, hey, you know, good job. You know, acted like a proper hero out there. But Shinso, on the other hand, is just like, no, I don't deserve any praise. It's just angsting. This chapter is him angsting.
I want like a My Dinner with Andre kind of movie, but it's just Shinso and Todoroki going to dinner and just angsting at each other the whole night. Which is like, I don't think I'm worthy. Who can I truly forgive? Interesting, but instead of telling me more, let me tell you about my grief.
I just pushed my mother away instead of trying to make amends with her, and I hate my dad, but I also want to be nicer with my dad, but he's such a dick.
What's it like when you have a power that's evil?
I don't know. My power is evil too. 1/2 evil. And then they make out.
It goes on for 4 hours and then it ends in sex.
Shinso basically just says that he was actually acting out of selfish interests. He realized that Deku's power going crazy was negatively affecting his team, and also he wanted to fight Midoriya and defeat him. And so he says, I was in that moment only focused on myself and what I wanted. And Aizawa goes up to him and chokes him with his capture scarf for a bit. And there's a weird chant of call the PTA from the class. It's kind of weird. Do PTAs exist in Japan?
Sure.
Why not?
If it's in a Simpsons joke, I assume it exists everywhere.
Why not? But Aizawa says, like, hey, you know, everyone who's part of the hero course has, you know, been trained to become heroes and save people for months. And they have learned, had the ideals of heroes drilled into them properly to act for the sake of others, save people, and stuff like that. But you know what? Acting for the sake of others and saving people actually takes more than just that. You'll never protect anyone until you find whatever strength you need for yourself. And if you think about it that way, your actions earn more than just a passing grade. So, also, I'm pretty sure that there's a flashback panel of him hanging out with President Mike when they were kids. I think that that's what's going on there.
It's not super clear. I know that some people were kind of reading into this as maybe like a tease of something else as well, because I think in the past Aizawa has kind of hinted at... or there've just been teases throughout the series that people have been lost, like students have kind of fallen.
Yeah, so maybe they're just old friends of his. Yeah. A whole lot of different possibilities. I'm sure that we'll eventually learn a little bit more later. But Deku also offers a lot of praise for Shinso and how well he worked together with his team and how some of the moves that he made. And Aizawa and Vlad King basically say like, yeah, we're pretty sure that he's going to join the hero course in his second year because he's got what it takes to be on par with anyone in this place. So, but immediately people are like, oh, well, which class join then?
They're like, you certainly belong on the same scale as the dude with the tail. I mean, if he's staying around, then you definitely should be in. You were at least as helpful as dude with tail.
Who was it that got their ass completely handed to them in the Yaoyorozu fight? Because it was her and Tokoyami and Hagakure, and then there was a fourth one.
Wasn't Sero. Oh, Shoji was the third match.
Shoji was in the draw. God. Who was it? Was it Kaminari? Or was he in the first? He was in the first one. Right. Kaminari was the first
Aoyama?
one.
Was it? No, he was in the first one, wasn't he?
Aoyama was in the second one.
No, he was.
Yeah, you're right. Because
he
they used his power to manipulate the shadows. It's like, God. So he's probably on par with Aoyama. He's like, who the fuck was... Who got their ass handed to them? I don't even remember who they were. Like,
who got their shit pushed in super hard? That one match.
Poor Aoyama. I love him, but yeah, he's kind of not so good. Monoma goes on one of his usual insane rants. Also, actually, before getting into that, I do really like that Ashi was just like, Mineta sucks, can you punish him? There was sexual harassment going on, beat him up. But Monoma starts going on a rant, and he's like, oh, let's have another match! And he's like, no, go back to class. But Deku was actually thinking, this caused him to think about how he was tagged by him because he remembers using the double impact on him at a certain point. The fight, so he's like, so he actually did touch me at a certain point. So he really did try and copy me, but what does he mean that he drew a blank? And before we can have any follow-up on that thought, we do have a related thought come up, though, which is Aizawa says, hey, Monoma, you're going to go see Eri tomorrow. So I think that one of the things about this whole team fight that surprised me is that there was actually a lot of stuff going on with Monoma when he was previously just this annoying guy that Bakugo got to, show up by kicking his ass in the cavalry battle, and he's shown up since then to mock people and be completely worthless otherwise.
He's almost exclusively been an antagonistic shit kind of like shit-heeled joke kind of character. Like he would wasn't he the only member of Class 1B who also had to do like makeup exams too?
Yeah,
that was a joke.
He mocked everyone because like, oh, there's a bunch of people in your class who have to do the makeup, and it's like he's the one person who's got to do it too. Which was why he wasn't involved in the invasion of the villains during the training. And yeah, all of a sudden, kind of on the undercurrent of this whole, this is, Shinso's chance to really step up is like, hey, there's a little bit of character development going on with this guy. And, oh yeah, the guy who can copy quirks might be very useful in getting this very essential quirk to work that the girl who has it is not old enough to be able to control. So we'll see what becomes of this. Maybe this is how Miria gets his powers back. I don't really think that I think that they would have probably thought of this before, if that were the way that they were going. But hey, he's got something important to do. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's been very cool to see Monoma kind of blossom into like a more full-fledged character from all this. I kind of wish that had been like effectively done throughout the rest of the arc. Because when you think about it, I mean, you kind of got little snapshots of side characters, but I think Monoma's going to be the only one who you're really going to say like grew from Class 1B out of this as like a completely different kind of character. There's a couple characters who like the Mud guy who are going to be like, oh, if I see him again, I might remember him because he's cool.
Right.
And they did make Kenpo or Kendo, whatever her name is.
Kendo.
Yeah. They made her look like competent.
Yeah, she led her team to victory, the only one that they actually had.
So you do get something there, but I definitely appreciate what they did with Monoma. And I was like, if nothing else, I think it was a good move to end the tournament, whatever the fuck this was. To end it off on a strong note, though. Like, this is a pretty satisfying final little match. It was nice seeing a lot of different people shine.
When you think about it, it seems as though, like, all the people in Class 1B that you kind of already knew about were the ones that got some focus. I think that, yeah, Mud Guy was probably the only one that I, am going to remember. Is like, oh, that's what he do now. So that I didn't before, at least.
And what about Lizard Girl, Nick? Remember?
Got the recommendation. She's so good. Boom. Loses immediately.
It's like maybe my favorite scene from My Hero.
Well, yeah, I mean, it had, two of my favorite characters just like, and we are awesome. Boom. So, also there were two others there, whatever. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Food Wars, chapter 298. What they have featuring the most male model picture I think that we've ever seen in Food Wars, with Soma and Takumi just posing with their shirts open. It's like they were totally in a street fight. That's why they look beat up. So. Soma has shown up to help Takumi. That's what happens in the first couple of pages. Also, it seems as though Megumi has brought some tools for them to use. Don Kama objects to Soma joining because he was like, we were supposed to actually report who was going to be assisting us beforehand. We were both alerted at the same time. This is grounds for disqualification. And one of the guys from WGO is just like, nah, Bookmaster wants an interesting match with T-Battle. Also, if you're really going to push this point, we're going to have to investigate why Isami is suddenly missing. Hint.
I feel like if I was him, I'd be like, who fucking cares? We're clearly under Airbud rules here anyway. Go investigate all you want. Is there a rule in the rule book that we can't tie up one of the fucking contestants to keep them from not participating in this random arbitrary rules that come about upon each match?
You know what? Fuck it. Speaking of Airbud, I'm gonna go home and get my dog, and that's gonna help out Takumi.
Tsukasa lost his fucking knife without ever agreeing to it. Clearly there's no actual real rules that need to follow in all this. And fuck it, yeah, my partner's gonna be a dog, because dog cooking sounds a lot more interesting than fucking 18 people bartend cooking for some reason.
Food Wars has done some crazy shit, but it hasn't yet gotten to Yukio levels of insane shit where in one episode of GX they just had a dueling monkey. So, like, come on, step up your game.
Oh, I hope we all use different monkey-based cards as well. Of course he did. That's great.
He used all two of them. That's how many there were at that point in the game.
Excellent.
That duel lasted 4 turns. Anyway, Don Kama and company complete his dish. He presents Everine, whatever the fuck that is. There's an explanation of what Everine is. It's like a dessert dish. It's, that thing that's in a glass that has the levels of fruit and cream in it.
It looks similar to like a parfait. I'm sure there's some difference between them, but that's what my mind goes to. My uncultured swine mind.
But he actually has prepared 3 different ones, and he's like, this is an amuse-bouche, so it's meant to be eaten quickly. So eat this one in 10 seconds, and then this one in 20 seconds, and then this one in 30. And the judges are like, so demanding. But they follow his directions, and it's like, it's so good. And I'm going to quote Histoire here, as he imagines himself in a club surrounded by the transvestites in lingerie. It puts you in mind of a night spent at a certain type of club. The flavors dance and twirl with both charm and muscle in a richly seductive show.
Yeah, that's what I want to feel like when I eat food. It's like that one night I spent at a sit club being jerked off by a stripper. That's exactly what I want my parfaits to taste like.
The secret to Don Kama's dish is that the shakers that he has all have grooves in them, which causes the mixture to have tiny bubbles inside the verine, which means that it's got a lot of foaminess in the different layers of it, which is why he demanded that they eat it quickly. And it's like, oh wow, amazing teamwork and stuff. And Don Kama starts to go into I'm going to lose now villain mode, by saying, it's like, I know the secret of the RD brother's strength. It is in your teamwork, which means that the only ones who can use the Mezzaluna to its fullest are you two who have worked together so much. And WGO judge is just like, is he going to Is it possible that Soma Yukihira can also bring that talent out to its fullest? It cuts over to the kitchen, and Takumi and Soma are arguing with each other because they're getting in each other's way, which is a nice little detail. And I do like that Megami is immediately like, did I do bad by bringing him here? Should I just actually try and go rescue Isami now? Should I call the police? That's what I should have done.
I probably should have started with that.
But
what's that? There's been a reported kidnapping. Where? Oh, the Blue? Sorry. International laws apply there. No police can be involved.
No jurisdiction there.
You can murder as many people as you want in your cooking contest, should you want.
That's why we can never go after Coyote Blades.
Once he's in the kitchen, he's untouchable. He actually put an oven in his car, so it technically counts as a kitchen. Can't touch him there.
Every time we pulled him over, he's just like, sorry, making a sandwich, can't get me.
Diplomatic immunity, and then he drives off.
And we're like, why is there this bound and gagged woman in your car? And he'll be like, well, I'm feeding her this dish. And he pulls out the soup, and nope, gotta let him go.
At that point, he's got jurisdiction over us. If we stay too long, then we're liable for entrapment.
Wow. Anyway, Takumi brings out the Mesaluna, and Megami has like a flashback of like the times that Takumi and Soma have butted heads and stuff. But Megami is like, this is how far they've come, and this is the bond between them. And it's like 2-page spread, Takumi and Soma gripping the two handles of the Mesaluna, and they do still have more like, banter between them. Like, you better use that knife good. And he's like, oh, shut up, you jerk. I'm here to help you out, so show some gratitude. And then they're like, oh, right, we've got a dish to make. And they pose together, and Takumi says, your amuse-bouche was impressive, but ours will thrill and excite the crowd even more. And Megumi says, these two do have it. They have all the time and training they've put in together, even after the Team Shokugeki. Okay.
Did they ever cook together during a Team Shokugeki? Like, I think they practiced together.
They had the one where all three of them worked together.
Okay, that's right. They did have that one. Okay. I definitely find more amusement in, like, the fascinating, delicious feeling of eating that one vereen is to imagine that you're in a strip club in the seediness of the situation, and you're like,
oh,
what?
This is so good. It's like,
what
kind of person are you that like imagines that situation and be like, this is perfect, this is wonderful, anyone would be able to relate to this and think it's great. Like,
well, also just like, who's the dude who's just like, it's just like that experience, food, strip clubs, the two things that are just, they blend so well together, that are so iconic.
That actually reminds me something that I saw on The Late Show. So, oh gosh, what is his name? What's the guy who plays Pita in the Hunger Games franchise?
I know who you're talking about. I guarantee I'm not going to be able to.
Josh Hutcherson.
So yeah, that's it.
So he told this story about a time when they were shooting one of the movies, and they were like in Germany, and he and a few of his co-stars in the films, like, basically the core young cast, went to like an all new German club one time, and they were just like so like curious that they just decided, yeah, why not? And they went in, and it was full of naked old people, and they're like, okay then.
Well, now.
It's actually an amazing interview. So if you, seriously, like, look up the interview that Josh Hutcherson gives on The Late Show. It's actually really funny. So anyway,
next week.
Speaking of sex clubs, Eden Zero, Chris.
Yes, Eden Zero, Chapter 30, The Super Virtual Planet. So last time, they ended the chapter by finding Hermit. It was a very difficult journey. They found Hermit. She's just chilling out on one of those big space statues. And they're like, well, can't believe we found her so soon. And we get a little confirmation. It's actually somewhat an amusing panel because Weiss turns. He's like, hey, they tell me all the shiny stores, old ladies. And he's like big Mickey Mouse eyes. Something like that. He's very excited. And I believe that Moskov confirms that that is the case because he just
Yes, you will have lots of fat material, you dirty pervert.
Yeah, and they explained that to be precise, they are female model androids, and Happy says, "I'm a cat model."
Yeah,
so those two are mutually exclusive. Like you can't be a female cat. But they're like, okay.
Well, that's important because that means that there's not going to be a Carla equivalent in this one.
You know what? Let's put a bet on that right now. We're never going to have to see Carla again, guys. It's going to be super satisfying. Because it's not as though any other characters from Fairy Tail or previous
show up in this chapter.
So they bring Hermit on board. And I swear to God, like a cruel joke, the rest of the chapter becomes Kingdom Hearts. Like, in a sequence of my life where I have very, like, stone-fastly kind of put my foot down and be like, no more. The Kingdom Hearts story has gone too far. They're like, what's wrong with Hermit? Her heart won't heal. What is a heart? Like, well...
we have to go to a different planet!
Her heart's been digitized and lost in the data planet. And I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. So, yeah, they're like, she's not responding to anything. I can't heal him. There's a point when, like, Sister says, my heal won't do anything against this. And Shiki turns to Weiss. He's like, can't you fix her? And he's like, oh, don't be crazy. And I'm like,
I can't fix machines.
I'm like, isn't that the one thing you do?
He basically might as well have just said, if I do that, we won't have this plot arc.
I can't do that now. So they're like, oh, something must have damaged her. She's in a sleep mode. And Witch says specifically, in human terms, it means her heart, her mind has been damaged. So they're like, well, we have to... I forgot. Witch says specifically, we do not have a full understanding of the concept of quote-unquote hearts. It's gold. So they're like, we don't know what to do. Us silly robots, we have no idea how to fix your human heart.
We'll go inside her!
I'm like, isn't she also a robot? Wouldn't you?
We cannot understand. This is a human matter. She's a robot.
I'm like, wouldn't you, as the other robots, understand her heart more than anyone else in this room?
No, you just have to understand it's a human thing. But it's an android thing. Yes, but it's an android take on a human thing.
I'm like, I still feel like you guys would be really good to know about. Yeah, whatever. So
it would have, you know, would have actually been a little bit better if they had said, for androids, the concept of a heart or a soul is as difficult to understand as it is for humans to understand a human heart or soul. Mm-hmm. That'd be, you know, a very simple, like, this is why we can't just type some buttons and then fix her.
Sure. So. I mean, you could even argue that artificial life in its own way still has a metaphysical or spiritual component to it. Like there definitely are fields of philosophy that could argue that.
And it would help to, you know, validate also all the android members of this crew, because it's like half of them now. So.
Yeah, this is just a situation where they're like, we need to fix her heart. And it's like, but she's also a robot like you two. I don't understand why you two have no idea what's going on, but the human members...
Shut up and get inside of her!
So yeah, they're gonna they're gonna be Kingdom Hearts recoded, and they have to fix Sora's broken heart and repair all the memories that Naminé damaged.
Jack in!
And yeah, they're just like, we'll fix
We are VR troopers. I'm trying to think of as many internet TV shows as I can think of.
They're doing all of them because like we're gonna fix her broken heart, and they're like, oh, the only place to do that, to dive mode, is the planet Digitalis. And they're like, Digitalis? They're like, haven't you heard of it? It's a planet of digital data. We're all ones and zeros float.
It's the internet planet.
All that data has its own gravitational force or something. And they're gonna go there. They go there. They're like, this was like, so it was a server for an online MMO.
Look, we're gonna do a fucking Sword Art Online arc, okay? So we need to justify why there's a fantasy world on this digital planet. It's because it's the server for an MMO.
Which, again, is so massive. It has its own gravitational pull that pulls in data from around the world just around it. And it shut down. There was an incident. So I guess the server's not running, but still collectively holds together as a planet or something. I don't know where they went, because they're entering into the game. So I guess they're just turning into data from their spaceship and then going into it.
I mean, they specifically say that if you die in the game, you die for real, so...
All the rules that you would need are in this. They're like, you can't actually do anything that you can't do in real life, which I'm already like, this sounds like a shitty game already, but whatever. And then they put in the whole, like, if you die in the game, you die in real life rules as well.
All right, guys, so let's go. Let's go .hack sign into the terrain of magical expertise, why don't we?
Mm-hmm. And
have a grand event.
One of us can be Black Rose, and then one of us can be the other characters whose names I never bothered to learn because I didn't jerk off to them when I was 7.
Pretty sure they came out a lot after that, but
whatever. So yeah, they get in their spacesuits. They get ready to digitize. I should note that it's Blue Rose. Fuck. Well, now I look like an idiot. It's specifically Shiki, Weiss, Rebecca, Homura, and Happy who are going. So I guess they can.
Pino.
What's up? Oh, is Pino going?
Yeah, she's got a little suit on too.
I don't see that. They just did give her a scene of showing her getting transmitted as well. Huh. Unless she's part of another panel and I can't see it.
Yeah.
Regardless, they're the ones going. There's a whole like moment where they're just like, customize your avatar. And we get Shiki turning fat, and then Shiki turning into one of the characters of Fairy Tail who I don't remember, and then into a werewolf, and then into a Chia, because, cameos.
I do actually appreciate where he goes, like, I could spend my whole life doing this. Like, I mean, that is true of you put it in a good character creator's, like, I'll spend fucking 3 days on that shit.
Oh, so. Yeah. The amount of time that I've spent building characters in MMO and then playing it in first person, you're just like, who am I doing this for? We see Rebecca. She's the first one, I guess, to presumably get in. And she's walking around. She's like, wow, it's so cool. I bet everyone's having a hard time making their avatar when there's a stomping sound coming.
Hold on. Before we get to this point, to note, so Happy's there. And he's like, I'm wearing a traveling cloak. He's like, he looks like medieval Happy. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then there's Rebecca, who is wearing thigh highs, a skirt, a tube top with a paw pattern. She has a cat's tail and cat's ears, but she also has her human ears. This is so distracting and all.
What? She's doing what she wants, man. Let her
I'm gonna have 2 pairs of ears.
You know what? Now that you say it, the 2 pairs of ears are kind of distracting. But good for her, I guess. Anyway, the chapter ends as that rabbit from Brave Master, whose face always shook, shows up, and then a character who I don't know if I'm supposed to know or not, because I thought it was Shiki for a while until I realized he had glasses, shows up, and that's the end of the chapter.
I mean, it might be Shiki, but just with glasses.
It could be. I mean, it's rather extravagant, but maybe that's what Shiki's going for.
Or maybe the guy with glasses is Weiss, and Shiki is the rabbit.
You know what? That'd be a funny way to do this. And I feel like that's why it's not going to happen that way.
It can never be the ideal. All right. So that was a chapter. Honestly, like, looking back on it, it's actually at some points so bad that it's actually really good. It's so stupid that I can't help but be amused by it. So, a planet of data that was there because it's the server for an MMO. Oh my god.
To me, it's entirely the conversation about the hearts that get me. Like, after a week of playing Kingdom Hearts and reaching a point where I'm like, it's all too dumb. I can't do it anymore. To then go open up this manga and being like,
why can't we fix her? Because shut up.
I wait for the Q&A or something where I get to tell Nick how Kingdom Hearts 3 ends.
I might actually get that game.
Ooh.
So.
Well, I'm going to let you know now. It's a disappointment.
I've heard that it was. So anyway, Hell Warden Higuma. Higuma is talking with the Demon King Emma, and Higuma, before letting the other say what they wanted to say, he just says, "Stop turning my friends into Bunreisha." And Emma kind of like shrugs it off after, well, laughing it off, and he basically says that he doesn't turn people into Bunreisha. He gives the humans the ability to do it, and then they decide for themselves. And he kind of washes his hands of any responsibility for their actions by saying, I'm not capable of actually influencing human behavior. I just can grant people power or not. And beyond that, I just, my gaze watches over the world. And Higuma is kind of frustrated with him for a bit. Emma talks for a little bit, and he says, like, yeah, I don't force them to make the call. And he says, actually specifically, that he is not allowed to intervene. And there's a close-up on the manacles around his ankles when he says this. The reason why he's called him Higuma is because he wants to tell him about the next threat that he's got to take out, which is a kitsune, fox demon spirit. And we see said kitsune forcing a mother to kill her children. Well, okay then. The mother tries to resist the possession, and he mocks her for it by saying, like, it's beautiful that you're trying to protect them, but I loathe children. They make me sick. And I'm going to show you the sensation of slitting your own child's throat. And that happens, apparently. So add child murders onto what this series has done. So he runs off laughing to himself, but then he ends up coming across a mysterious shadowy figure leaning against a tree in Getsu, who is smoking a pipe. And he just says that he still hasn't seen the Hell Warden. We're introduced to the fox demon as being named Kotetsu, who says, like, don't attract untoward suspicion, just hunt like normal, and draw out the Hell Warden. Only fight the Hell Warden in black. If you see any others, flee, only hunt within your territory. So basically, he is obeying this guy, and we learn later that the reason he's doing this is because he follows an old man that we don't know anything about. So, minion, lieutenant, final boss kind of thing, it looks like. We get the explanation that Kotetsu, or Nairi no Kotetsu, the Iron Fox, preys upon the love between mother and child, which was why he was doing that with the family earlier. And as he's getting this brief, we also cut over to Kotetsu, and he just knocks a nest out of a tree and breaks the eggs, and then tortures the mother bird when they come back. And he's just such a fucking asshole. He's like, yeah, that's right. You upset that I killed your bird babies? Fuck you, bird. What a dick. And then he kills them and eats them, it looks like. So, he justifies his own actions by saying that the reason he does this is because he loves being free. He follows the old man because he's been liberated by him. And he says that he feels sorry for the Hell Warden that's going to come after him for being shackled up by the great King Enma. And also that he's so young that he has to come up against him. So he says that he will give him freedom in the form of death, obviously. At the same time, King Enma says there is no freedom for sinners. He's a fugitive drunk on temporary liberation, so bring him down to reality, find him, and capture him. I do like the little bits of pretty obvious hinting that, like, there's no freedom for sinners and the Demon King is in chains. So I was like, what the fuck did this guy do? And also probably give some hints as to his motivations for this stuff. I feel like this Kotetsu is a more memorable looking and acting villain than the Crow guy we got prior to this. So I guess we'll see how this goes.
Now, how do you like this chapter in terms of, I think this is the first one that didn't feature the female lead at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we did that a lot so that we could get a good idea of Kotetsu's character, and he does leave a strong impression. So I will give the series that. But I do really like Ayaha, and I hope that she doesn't get sidelined a whole lot. So,
True that. All right, let's talk about...
Nothing happened in Lation, Chris. Nothing happened.
Lation Process 8, Neo versus Gevaudan. Gevaudan, whatever it is. So, chapter opens, and Neo is sitting there, and Gevaudan shows up.
Just goes inside his house.
He's just like, I'm here about a debt. And Neo doesn't even look up from his computer. He's just like, yeah, no, we're closed. This place has already been cleared. Everybody's free. Congrats. And he's like, oh, well, actually what I was referring to is your debt, Neo. And he pulls out a gun and he shoots him in the leg.
I love how Neo's just like, is that gun real? Also, I'm not Neo. Ow!
Oh, God!
Right in the thigh.
And Gevi is like, it's got a silencer on it. So, you know, it's good that we won't have people coming here because of the sound of a gun. And Neo has this, like, you know, hero time monologue to himself. He's just like, I always knew bad guys would come out to target me. Judging by the timing, this guy must be connected to the Lemmy case. Did he come because of the Lake to Saki's case? Or when Dio went down with the Machiyamada developers? No, I didn't leave behind sufficient evidence for that. And he's like, he's going through his whole thing.
I need to keep on thinking or else I'll focus on how much this fucking hurts.
Yeah, and he's just like, if you're going to play dumb with me, I'm sorry, but I'm not with the police. And he's like, oh, well, after I kill you and I realize you're not Neo, then I'll simply consider it a mistake. And he's like, oh, fuck. All right, well, what's the point? So Gevaudan explains, I'm Gevaudan, whatever, a crime consultant. I produce criminals. It's all the rage these days. Like how there's idols producers. It's basically the same thing. And he's like, yeah, so I was basically backing Lemmy. He's like, so now do you feel better now that you know why you're going to die?
No, I've got a bullet in my leg.
I know I'm going to feel a lot better once you're gone. So it's a win-win for both of us. And Neo starts saying, are you sure about that? You should be more careful about that thing. You never know who could be watching from anywhere, like when you killed Lemming. And it kind of stops Gevaudan a little bit. He's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Lemming's dead. He's like, oh, don't play dumb with me now. What about that symbol drawn in blood? You know, the one I saw over the security camera. He talks about how he's like, no, there's no way there could have been a security camera there. I definitely would have seen. I don't believe it. He's like, oh no, there's security cameras everywhere. You know, people install them anywhere, private businesses too, and anyone can just hack into it, see anything. And what I'm saying is maybe there just happened to be a camera on site, and there just happened to be one linked to the net, and it just happened to catch it at the right moment, you know. And he's like, it'd be impossible to check that on countless cameras. And Neo's like, I didn't say I did it alone. I got some help from a friend of Lemming. And he's like, oh shit, Motoko, that stupid AI. He's like, yeah, because Motoko is a program, so it doesn't get tired, doesn't file labor disputes or anything like that. It can just search over and over looking for what I want. And he pulls out he pulls up his sleeve and he's like, so if you shoot me, my watch will detect the stopping of my heart and all the incriminating footage we distributed all across the world. And I also have information that docks other villains too. And there's a momentary pause as the blood drips down, and he thinks to himself, I don't have any footage. And he's all 100% completely bluffing based off the fact that this guy has such a unique kind of like persona and everything like that. He's like, he definitely is the person involved with all this, but he has no proof. And he realizes that if this guy doesn't buy his bluff, he's just going to be killed. So he's like, oh no, this situation's so messed up, but it's so freaking fun. And he's
like got a danger boner in his pants right now. He's like, oh, I'm going to die.
I'm going to die. You're going to kill me? What are you going to do it with? Oh, with a gun? That's so cool. So
hot. Oh, you're gonna get out the cheese grater first? Oh no.
Oh god. He's like, so yeah, that's the situation. And guy's like, all right, well, that's true. The footage will still get out. So if that's the things are gonna be, it'd be better to just kill you either way, you know? He's like, well, what if you don't? See, if you leave me alive, then the footage won't go anywhere. You know, I can't just release it anyway. Like, I can't kill you because then or can't just put you away because then everyone who works underneath you that you're a criminal consultant for will feel a reason to go after me. So I have incentive not to release this information, and you have incentive not to kill me. So it kind of works out in exchange. You just don't touch me. How about that? And he's like, well, it's all assuming you even have the footage. So he's like, you want to test me? So Gevaudan fires, but this shot hits the sofa instead. He says, "You're awesome."
It grazes his cheek. Comes
Yeah.
very close.
And he says, "You're also beast material. Just finding that out has made this trip worth it. I'll see myself out for today, and I'll be seeing you again real soon." And then Neo starts laughing. Not just because he's alive, but because it worked. He's like, you came in, and I was at your mercy, but you bought my trap and left, and now I'm going to use all the cameras. I'm going to hack all of it. And he's like, you lose. I'm going to find out where you are, where you're going, everything. And he's typing on his computer. He's starting to try to hack things, and he sees Gevaudan left his business card. And he's like, I don't need this. Wait a minute. And then he starts typing again. He's furiously typing.
It's just like I got like a troll face on it.
Yeah. It's just dick butt. He's like, what the? It cuts over to Gevaudan, and he says, modern jammers are flawless. None of the cameras in the area are going to capture anything, just like when Lemming died.
And that's all printed out on the business card.
So not only did he knew that he didn't have footage on him, and he knew he would probably try to use the footage as his defense, but he just played along with it anyway. And we just cut to the street as Gevaudan's laughing, and Neo has his face where he crushes the business card in his hand. It says, Gevaudan, you're going down.
I do really like that the reason why Neo is so pissed off is not that this guy came into his base and threatened to kill him. It's that he toyed with him. And so his pride has been so insulted that now he wants to take him down.
It's a very...
Really intense chapter, and it's nice to see we're at the point where our hero can be taken down a peg in order to give him motivation to go up against this big bad. So
it's nice to feel like the big bad guy is like a competent threat as well.
Yeah,
because for the longest
he outdid what Neo does best.
Yeah,
so
and he did it in such like a showy way too, like the business card drop off to be like, oh, this is printed on it. Basically the 100% perfect response to the stupid plan you're about to try. Like,
yeah, I love the detail of like, I know not only did I see through your bluff, but I knew it was exactly what you're going to do before you did it. And exactly why you did this is because you were trying to capture footage of me. So,
but he also is like, but I kind of am glad you did it because I wanted you to like kind of be a beast like this and try to fake this identity. Like I actually got something out of it too. So it's a very satisfying like way to make the villain feel like a threat, and they give more characterization to Neo. I think it was a really well done, effective chapter.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, we never learn.
Let's talk. We never learn, Nick. Question 98. Sometimes a tome lures them to the X of seduction.
You know what, Chris?
Holy shit! I just remember what this chapter is about.
You know what, Chris? We Never Learn is better than Nisekoi. Like,
you know what? I'm still gonna say it is, but these chapters happen every so often. What are you gonna do? So it starts with Uega, and he's studying with his buddies, whose names I don't really care about. Kobayashi is the biggest one, and then the other one. I don't know.
Mori is the big guy. Yeah.
So they finish studying. And then Mori is over by his books, and Uega's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, nothing. Next day, Uraka shows up, and she's like, hey, thanks for having us over. Not Uruka, sorry. And she's like, hey, it's so nice to study at our place. And he's like, yeah, it's going to be nice. My family's gone. Huh? I just got a text from Ogata and Fumina that said they're running late. So... it's just going to be the two of us right now. She's like, oh, okay, hey, I guess I should borrow one of your dictionaries. So she goes over to his bookcase, and she finds Erika Takamoto, the first photo album of the former swim champ, quote-unquote, the voluptuous little devil. It's a ecchi magazine, essentially, of this former swim champion in swimsuit sexy poses, basically.
Yes.
And Ruka is like, oh my god, there's some pretty risque shots in here. I guess boys will be boys. And Yuiga shows up with like fucking tea. He's like, did you find the dictionary? And she slams the book shut, hides it underneath her pillows. Like, oh my god, I can't. I didn't know what to do. I guess Naruyuki must be into that kind of grown up, sexy babe. So she keeps trying to be sexy by being like, oh, my foot's falling asleep, and oh no, I accidentally am just kind of exposing my shoulder, and then like giving like the turn and a wink, and Yuiga's just like
studying.
So she's like, I feel so defeated. Nothing I'm doing is working on him. Although we do get a moment where Yuiga's like, is it just me, or is she being unusually sexy today?
It's the most like innocent way you could put that. She's being unusually sexy. Quite out of the ordinary for her to be so.
There's specifically though, Uruka goes to the bathroom because she's very frustrated, and she defends herself by saying, "It hurts my pride as an athlete." Yes, as an athlete. That's all. So she leaves, and Yuiga's like, "Huh, that's very strange." And he bumps into the magazine, like he just touched it. He's like, "Oh wow, this was under Uruka's seat. Oh wow, this is. I guess maybe because it's a swimmer, it's some kind of reference book." And I'm gonna note, so there is, obviously a level of weirdness to this chapter about like a creepy, sexy book and then photos being sent. But far and away, the most disturbing part of this chapter is the description on the page. It says, Erica will never forget her competition swimsuit. It's like, I don't know why, that just sounds so fucking
That is
filthy.
not what she wore for her swimming competitions.
Like, ew. So yeah, he's like, I shouldn't look at this. We then cut inside to the bathroom where Uruka is like taking sexy photos and trying to like think. She's like, wait, why am I doing this? And then like there's a little text box in the corner that says, the answer is you're supposed to be studying. And she's like, oh right. So then Fumino and Ogata show up, and they're seated 4 ways around the table, and the book is directly underneath the table because none of these people have the skill to just like hide it somewhere appropriate. Like it's the comedy of errors where they're just like, oh, people are coming into the room, better hide it directly in front of me. And then they just go with it from that. And they both know that this book exists, but they think it's one another's. So Aruka's like, I don't want anyone to see this because Yuiga will be really, embarrassed. And Yuiga's like, I don't want her to, anyone to find it because I don't want anyone thinking of Aruka's reputation or anything like that. And then immediately Ogata's like, hey, what's this book under the table? And they leap into the air and they start fighting over it. And,
I love I don't know how it's possible. Because if you look at the way they're all seated on different sides of a round table, and Yuiga and Uruka are sitting across from each other with Ogata on one side, but somehow they both simultaneously lunge for and grab it, and it ends up being swiped away from her, despite the fact that they're diving for it. And they end up going in front of her. So I was like, why? How did this happen?
And there's like a little joke that they both kind of landed in poses like are from the book. And then Fumino picks it up and she's like, oh, what's this then? So the two of them are like, oh, no, it's mine. It's mine. And they all tried to make sure that the other one doesn't get caught with it. And then Ogata's like, hey, this note fell out. And it says, enjoy a nice break for a change. Your dear friend, Amori the Great. Everyone's like,
this guy's a fucking weirdo, okay?
Like, fuck this guy. So we cut to Uruka, and she's walking back home, and she's just like, I can't believe I took all those stupid photos. It's all Mori's fault. And she's like, I kind of wonder what Yuiga would say if I sent these to him. No, I couldn't do it. No way, Jose. And Yuiga's sister walks by, and it's just like, oh, hey, what a coincidence.
Twins, yeah.
And, oh, what's going on? Are you going to marry our brother? Ha, ha, ha. And they're kind of like, jostling her a little bit and touching stuff. And Uruka accidentally sends the photo. So we see Yuiga get it.
I love that her phone makes the noise, and then she's like, wait a minute, what's bing?
What's paching? And this is maybe my favorite part of the chapter, because we see
this is the one joke that I actually really like, yes.
Where Yuiga's like, and you see him like turn and start to like rub his temple and then look back. Here's the thing. In another lesser kind of harem story, Yuiga would get this and he'd immediately be like, Gah! And then like blood would shoot at his nose and everything like that. And this one, Yuiga was just like, I'm trying to fucking study. What is this now? And immediately he gets a text back saying, sorry, I accidentally sent you a picture of a dog in the street. It was an accident, so I deleted the photo. Sorry about that. And he goes like, ha, of course, a photo of a dog. Could have sworn it was something else. No, I guess it was just a picture of a dog. But I just love his reaction of like getting the photo, just being like, oh god, what's this shit now? Like, he's just constantly put upon by this.
I really do hope that Haruka ends up with Yuiga, because this poor girl just gets in all these embarrassing situations. I feel like at this point she just like deserves it. Just please, just be happy.
Just give her something.
Also, what kind of text service do they have that they can delete messages that they send each other?
Some probably have it.
I guess if they're not
especially if you're using an app too.
Yeah, if they're using instead of just a straight up SMS service, then I guess it's possible. All right, well, that's it for that chapter. For one or two good bits in it, but in general, it's just like, well, back to this. All right, Dr. Stone, Z equals 93. The first shot is yours. We actually get a little bit of a lecture from Francois about the proper way to make bread. And they make some like actual bread this time, with big old, the big round loaves and stuff, as opposed to just the sweet stuff. And over the phone, we actually get a note from I still haven't memorized her name yet, reporter lady, where she's like, hey, all this awesome bread you guys are enjoying, who do you have to thank for it? And they all immediately go, Francois, and she's like, no, well, yes, but
I'm the one who made Francois like alive.
I actually really love that joke. Who do you think that you have to thank for that? Francois. No. Well, yes, but me. She reminds them, it's like, yeah, I gave him my vial of revival fluid, so I want to see you. And she actually says what she wants through the phone. And Senku says, yeah, okay, we did promise that we were going to make that for you. He calls over not just to her but to Kaseki as well, and says we're going to need some stuff for you to bring. And Kohaku expresses the worries like, oh, that's actually a really long way away from here. Is Kaseki gonna be able to make that journey? I mean, that's asking a lot of him. And Taiju just says like, I'll just carry him there. Oh, Taiju. But Kaseki says like, no, I've had much time to work since we parted ways, Senku. Don't underestimate a good artisan. And oh my god, it shows up in this fucking... I don't even know how to describe it, because it's the Steam Gorilla, but like, if the Steam Gorilla was a lowrider, kind of. And he's wearing
got the sideways seat in it too.
Yeah, traveling in style with the reporter lady at the wheel, and they're both like totally aware of how awesome they look. Kaseki's wearing his awesome pimp suit with the sunglasses. Oh man,
Nick, I think this singular moment gets 7 or 8 different Amoris. They're peanuts. This is like future transaction investment, like happiness for the old characters Chris feels far too sympathetic towards.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, oh man, he's wearing the clothes. And he's like, yeah, I look good, don't I? I thought I would just, stick with this style. Anyway, what am I here to make? And Senku tells him, and his clothes, of course, immediately burst off because he's so excited.
I fucking love this guy.
He has him working some stuff, and they combine some different chemicals together, and Senku makes a mirror really quickly. And I like that Chrome doesn't recognize himself because it's such a clear reflection. Because, yeah, it makes sense. Like, the only way that they would have seen each other themselves by this point would be by, looking like puddles and shit. So, Minami's the name of the reporter lady, anyway. And Yukio is like, what, she just wanted a mirror? And it's like, no, 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 no. Although I do like that Ryusui is just like, well, she's beautiful, so of course she wants to look at herself, because all ladies are beauties. But Minami clarifies, no, 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 it's part of what I want for a tool of my trade. And Senku has created for her a case that Kaseki was making. And then they, it's like, okay, we put some, salt water in after the mirror, and here we go. It's a camera. And
it's specifically a Senkan camera, which I guess is a reference to Canon cameras?
Daikon? I don't know. Probably Canon, but whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, it's our first camera, and Minami, has a big emotional moment because she thought that her precious camera, was lost forever during the incident. And she like clutches it in her arms and is crying. And she says, "I'll capture it all, a record of the civilization we're building from scratch, a record of our new world." And Senku's like, "Yeah, but I made a lot more too," which she's kind of upset about, I think. But they're going to use these.
She's like, give me a second to have a fucking moment.
Nope. They're actually taking advantage of this whole thing because they're going to take photos from the sky so that they can actually have a very proper map of everything. Minami wants to commemorate the occasion, with an important first picture. And Ryusu is like, then come and hire the model for our first photo. I'll take cash. And she's like, no, I don't want to take a picture of you. And he's like, no, I know, but we're gonna have you take a picture of Senku. That's gonna be our model, right? And Senku's like, I don't want to. Which I do like to see him in a situation where he's just like, I don't want to, because that's a side of him we don't really ever get to see. Yeah, but it's like, I've got science to do.
He's just not comfortable with like the attention or like that way of like portraying himself.
Mm-hmm. And Francois actually requested that Kaseki bring over a bunch of the clothes that Yuzuriha has made so that they can have him be a proper model, because they anticipated that this was what Ryusu would want to happen. And although prior to that, they say, do not misjudge Master Ryusui. He does not seek splendor for himself. No, his greed goes beyond such small, petty notions. Rather, he desires to own the splendor that he spreads to everyone. It's a very weird way of... That's such an odd idea, isn't it? I want everyone else to be happy so that then I can own their happiness. Weird.
There's a level that I can understand, the notion of like people who are like, I want to make people happy because then I feel happy because I feel like I'm the one who created that. Mm-hmm. That's something I can grasp. And it does give him a different context too that makes him a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, being a good guy in a selfish way is an odd concept that makes it's an interesting quirk to his character. Yeah. So eventually, after Senku dresses and looks very awkward in a number of different poses, I love that there's the detail of Francois like helping him dress in the suit and stuff, but also he dresses like Freddie Mercury for a second too, like with the mustache included. Anyway, he's eventually just like, whatever, all this is pointless. Come on, just take a picture so that I can go. And Minami requests that he at least pose for a second. And they're like, that seems very odd for him to do. But Francois suggests, why not strike a pose reminiscent of history's most famous scientist? And Minami snaps the photo. And Senku heads up with Ryusui so that they can, map out the world. And meanwhile, on the ground, they develop the pictures in a little hut, and it's a picture of Senku striking the Albert Einstein tongue sticking out pose, which is a really I like the image of him. It's got all the very exaggerated shading and stuff, so it actually looks like a proper photograph, as opposed to just like, and here's a picture of him. So that's the chapter.
This is one of those chapters of Dr. Stone where the way it portrays the science is so elegant and like inspiring that it leaves like a huge lasting impact. Like I'm not gonna like beat around the bush. This is by far my favorite chapter of the week. I love how effective it was at like jumping between like 3 different concepts at once. Like it could have just been enough to be like, hey, it's a fucking mirror, and then it's like, oh, hey, it's a camera for whatever her reporter girl, Minami. Like it's it's a moment for her, and she has this moment where she's crying because she's like, finally we can like record the world again, and it's like a cool moment for her as like an actual reporter to be like, have this tool now that enables her to actually record history again. For someone who had that much passion, like to see her cry that much over a camera, it's a very inspiring sort of moment. And I just like the way that they're like, the first photo we take is a pretty important one. Let's take a photo of the guy who's doing all of this. And it's like, oh, let's see the side of Senku that no one really kind of see. Like he's just awkward. He can't do these sorts of things. That are like, well, wait a minute. Why don't you strike that same pose, that rather iconic one from history's most famous scientist? And just seeing that, and then seeing the version of Senku being done, it's such a like a dorky but awesome moment that I'm like, that's everything I read Dr. Stone for and enjoy it so much for. It's just like the goofiness of a moment of being like, hey, our first picture is going to be of Senku, and he's going to be doing that tongue sticking out pose.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I really wonder, because Dr. Stone, I don't know, they announced an anime for it, right?
Oh yeah, there's going to be an anime.
So these are one of those scenes that I'm like, I wonder how the anime captures this, because it's such an iconic moment right now, seeing the difference in art style and like even like the one shot jokes of seeing how they handled them in animation. But yeah, I love it. It's a fantastic chapter. I've been kind of like not out of sorts on Dr. Stone, but it hasn't been like one of the series I've been most excited to read week to week, and this was a chapter that like reignited that for me.
Okay. It was all because of Kaseki.
I mean, it is. I didn't even mention him in that long spiel I just gave, but yeah, no, it is. It's entirely because he's happy. And
honestly, cool. Like this series has honestly, if Dr. Stone were like a bad series, even then it would be so worth it to get through it, to have just that shot of Minami and Kaseki showing up in the Steam Gorilla Mark II with a fucking it's just such an awesome
sunglasses and everything. Yeah.
We look awesome. Yes, you do.
All right. Well, let's move on to 7 Deadly Sins then. Chapter 299, Everyone Freezes. So last time we left off in the middle of a punch, and apparently that was 100% correct, because this week we pick up at the next shot of that punch.
Yeah, you got punched. Yeah, there you go.
Punched. Yeah, that's all that there really was for it. So we're still in a situation where like we need to defend Merlin for 5 minutes so she can cast a time stop spell, and it's Male basically taking on Zeldris because he's the only one that really can right now. So we get some more combat scenes between them, and we can see that there's definitely a level of anxiousness to Zeldris. Male kind of picks up on this, and he's like, it's weird, you're very hurried, it's not like you're usually so calm and poised, is just that you want to win this war so badly, or would you really turn your brother into that kind of being? And Zeldris is like, say what you want, but Melodius wanted this, and so do I. And we as an audience know that there's also something riding on this for Zeldris as well. There was a promise that Melodius made to him way back when. So Merlin calls out, like, only 1 minute left. Zeldris kind of slashes his way through Male. It's actually a pretty grisly shot that we just see from afar as he cuts his way through and then heads towards Merlin. And he fires off this big attack, a bunch of like laser blasts or something like that are flying, and I don't know what they're supposed to be, wind shocks, something. But King blocks it with his spear shield thing, and Zeldris is screaming. He is like hysterically kind of shouting, screaming like no, and as he slashes over and over trying to break through the shield. And he's like, what's holding you to this place? What's driving you to do this? And then Male shows up and just kind of cuts him across the back, and he's like, yeah, sorry about that. Too bad. And Zeldris stands up and he's like, I will keep my promise. I will become the Demon Lord and Gilda will live. And then Merlin's like, good job, everyone. It worked. And Chrono Coffin activates. And everyone's like, cool, good. Looks like it worked. And Zell just sees that the bird that was above it. Why this fucking bird would get this close to like just the anarchy that's happening around here, I don't know. But he sees the bird is frozen and he just keeps thinking to himself, Gelda, before falling over. And everyone kind of starts celebrating. They're like, we did it! The Holy War's over. We
Yay!
Melodius won't be reborn as the Demon Lord. There's a moment where Mail connects with Ludashell, and he's just like, brother, he's like, no, don't say anything now. Merlin's kind of like really exhausted. She's like, well, commandments will take their toll even on me, so I'll have to make sure that Captain treats me to all the alcohol after this. Basically, everyone's celebrating as though this was the victory. But then Hawk is flying above, and he's like, hey, the inside of the cocoon is completely empty. And we see that there's a giant cross-shaped scar that's opened the cocoon up at the top. And then we get a page of like the group shot. It's kind of tough to tell because Diane throws the scale of that really out of whack, but it's everybody with just a pure black background. And we see all the characters kind of react to it. Elizabeth being like, is that you? And Zell just laughing to himself. He says, I'm going to make you keep your promise, Demon Lord.
I was actually, when I first read this chapter, I was like, does something happen to Mail? Because it looks just like him, but with like no scruff. But I guess because, it's like an older Meliodas, essentially.
Yeah, no, it's a cool. I mean, it's hard not to imagine that this was going to happen. Like, it'd be weird if all the setup was like, oh, we got to stop Meliodas from becoming the Demon Lord. And like, we did it. We win. Yeah,
it was never going to happen.
The story's over. Like, it was definitely going to happen, but it'll be very curious to see what happens from here. Because we do know Meliodas is on his way back into his body. Like,
how is that going to affect things? Yeah.
And we also have to sit there and you're like, there's really not too many more aces up sleeves for the good guys. Like,
yeah. They're all kind of on their last legs too. They've all been a bunch of fights in a row. So
I'll be very curious to see how this goes. I like it too. It was a nice chapter for Zeldris just to show how like frustrated, angry he's getting because everything he wants is about to slip away, and he's doing everything he can to try to win. And these fuckers keep coming up with the one asshole who can counter him every time.
Son of a bitch!
Why aren't you being sucked in? Like, oh, sorry.
I teleport away constantly.
I have like a reverse graviton field, so I just blow stuff away so they counteract each other. Like, motherfucker!
He made the mistake of playing pretend with a bunch of 6-year-olds. Like, nah. Because I have a bulletproof shield.
That is true. Replica Rabbit says that Bond is still in play. So there is Bond still out there. But it does create this thing where you're like, there's not too many more options for the heroes to get help from. And everybody's been kind of fucked up by this point. So it's very cool.
All right. Let's move on then to The Promised Neverland, chapter 122, True Feelings. We open with Emma waking up in bed, and she looks around and realizes that she's the only person in the bedroom, and she rushes out into the hall, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I overslept! There's a note that this is literally the first time that she has ever overslept, which makes sense. They were on a schedule at the Gracefield house, and, she's been on the run ever since then. But a bunch of the other kids admitted, no, we overslept too, because they've been safe and comfortable a really long time. So, there's a little bit where like so people are like, Oliver was the only one who woke up like normal, and he's like, yeah, just in case something happened. It's cool. That's me, the responsible, awesome one that everybody likes. And it was like, well, you could have woken us up. I'm sleeping.
Yeah, go on, get my views.
It's the only way I can feel like an important character is if I'm the only one around. So Emma's like, what the hell? I don't even remember going to bed. And Ray says that Zach actually carried her into bed. And there's like a weird flashback picture of like, a bunch of the kids showing up and Zach being like, I guess go do the heavy lifting around here. She weighs like 80 pounds. And Ray also says, however, that Norman was actually gone by the time that that happened. And we see that he has indeed gotten back to his office, and he's approached by a tall, bald man with like scars in his head. Like it's like his brain has been taken out. Those kind of scars. It's quite off-putting, actually. Named Vincent. And so they talk a little bit about what's going on, and it's actually kind of weird because he says like, I've heard that Chris and Dominic are doing better now, so thanks. And Vincent's like, how boring. And for a second it's like, wow, okay. It's just like, don't tell me about your boring fucking family. Ugh.
He's like, quite interesting, sir. Now if we could go back to the murdering demons part.
It's been so long since I've seen them. For years, they thought I was bad. Yawn!
He's like, cool story, bro. Anyways, the new swords are in.
Demon genocide.
They're serrated. Could you please sign off on them?
But he actually says, "Oh, how boring! You're already back to your usual self. Everyone would say that you were acting like a completely different person around your family, and I would have liked to see that too." And but Norman's like completely opposite. He's like, "Don't patronize me. We have to revise the plan." And he says, like, did you hear the report from Hayato? Vincent says, yes. Infiltrated mass production farm. Security was beefed up. We were exposed. Therefore, they've got to make adjustments to their plan. And they also found information because they learned that, a Gracefield escapee has survived. But Norman says it's not going to be a problem. He's like, but I want to act before the enemy, so we're going to move up our plan. And besides, not only that, but this revolution must be a bloodless victory. I won't let any blood spill. On our side, at least. It's like, yeah, you were planning on murdering all the demons, so bloodless, yeah. He then seals a letter, tells Vincent to deliver it to them, and says that the conference must be arranged as soon as possible. And Vincent says, yes, sir, basically. And we cut away from there to Ray talking with Emma. Emma is, I guess, just helping out around the place, doing laundry and stuff. She's just, happy to be in a relaxed environment. And Ray says, I wonder what kind of plan Norman has. It's not nearly going to be as good as my plan, but I want to hear what his plan is anyway. And Emma is trying not to worry about it, basically. She says, like, is there something to worry about? He said that there's a future where we won't lose anyone. And Ray says, are you sure this is great? And it was like, what are you talking about? Well, Norman said he's going to destroy the farms. That's not what you want, is it? And it was like, what are you talking about? Of course I want it. And she actually brings up, you said back there that, if we had a strategy to get rid of the demons, then that would be more certain. Ray says, yeah, but that's not the future that you want, is it? And Emma admits, yeah, you're right. And it feels like something's wrong with me because I understand Norman's feelings. I think he's right and why everyone's so happy. And there's just this big full-page spread of her, I don't want to kill the demons! She's very upset looking.
She is.
And she says that it feels weird because, like, everyone's happy. Everyone would be happy. But I also want happiness for the demons. Everyone wasn't just thinking about themselves. They were happy because they care for me. But I want to take a path that would put everyone in greater danger, and I hate myself for that. I don't want them to be eaten. I don't want to be eaten. I don't want anyone to get shipped out or hunted, and they're our enemy. But then I think, what's the difference between the demons and us? They eat you. But this actually makes very important the scene we saw earlier when they were sneaking through the village and we saw, the kids scurrying around with their food. The demons also have family and friends, and they think and laugh and live just like us. They eat humans, but they're just doing it to survive. They're just eating to live. Just because they're our enemy, does that mean we should eradicate them? Even if we hate or fear them, isn't there an option besides annihilation? Also, Mujik is my friend, and I don't want to limit here. And Ray says, well, why didn't you say any of this yesterday? And Emma says, well, I can't. I want a path where we don't fight. Everyone wants a future to annihilate the demons, and most of all, the 7 walls won't even work. If they can't retain their form unless they continue to eat humans, even if we make a new promise, the demons will degenerate and go extinct. It's just going to be the same result. I want a different way, and there isn't one. What now, Ray? I don't know what I should do. When I first saw this, because hashtag Ray is so like burned into my mind, I imagined him doing that thing that Gina does in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where like puts on a hoodie, he's like, "It's time for Ray's opinion."
Ray has thoughts.
But I mean, this is a pretty essential chapter in order to get where we're going to go with this. But I do like that it does everything that she brings up is something that you can, look back to in a relatively recent chapter and say, like, yeah, it makes sense why she's thinking about that. And also, just over the past 120 chapters, the Emma that we've gotten to know would be worried about these things. And it does also make sense, like, she didn't bring any of this up because she realized, like, with the way the demons work, like, our plan wouldn't work anyway. So obviously something is going to come of this. I'm not sure exactly what. And I do like that there's just this sense of confusion where she's like, I don't want this, but I don't know what else to do. So
I think Emma is maybe one of, if not maybe the most interesting protagonist Jump has had in a very long time, if only for the sake that she has this very interesting moral code. And I know that there are going to be some people out there who are going to find it frustrating, but I enjoy watching this character who's kind of like got somewhat of a pacifist-esque mentality to her. She doesn't want conflict. She doesn't want to hurt people. And because she's kind of seen that demons aren't just this force of nature, she's like, I've met good demons. She's like, I don't want to doom their entire species. But I also really like that she doesn't have an answer. And the pain and the frustration she feels is so fucking vivid. The moment where she sits there and she's like, I hate myself because I think this way. Like, I hate myself because people I know are dying and I want to protect these people. And it's horrible. Like, I hate myself for thinking that way.
Yeah.
But it's such a, like important thing for this character to go through. Like, it's
not just that, but she knows that, like, if I seek an alternate path, I'm going to put my friends in more danger. And the fact that I want that, I hate that.
Yeah, so. I love that they're putting this much care and story into telling Emma's sort of struggle here, and not giving us a direct answer. Now I have to assume that there's some reason why Senju and Mujika have kept their demon forms for so long, if they supposedly were essentially vegetarians or whatever equivalency they had. So there's something there, but I don't know. This is a chapter that definitely made me relate to Emma on a lot of really unique levels. I find it to be, first and foremost, a series that's dominated by series where the only resolution to a conflict is to punch the bad guy even harder. That Emma's just sitting here like, I don't know how to do this. Like, it's a very unique and interesting sort of format, and I think this has been one of the stronger chapters of Promised Neverland in a while.
Yeah. It definitely feels as though things are kind of getting back on track with the Promised Neverland since they got to this village. Ever since, so I mean, it's been a while. I think basically since the Golden Pond, that it's felt like proper the Promised Neverland. So.
Yeah, no, I super dig it, and I'm really curious to see what Ray's response is. I know that hashtag Ray,
I don't fucking know.
Hashtag Ray would be like, why don't we just kill all of them, and then we can slap some stickers.
I know. There won't. No one will be miserable if we kill everyone.
He's like, hold on, Emma. Let me hop on my penny board, and I'll drive by them and drop kick them into a pit, and then we won't have to deal with that anymore. And everyone will be like, wow, Ray, you're super cool. Look at your sweet penny board tricks. And I'll be like, I know, guys, I'm super cool.
Do you have like a mixtape that I can buy? And I'll be like, do I?
And I'll be like, which Blink-182 album would you like to start with? I have all the classics.
Public Enema, the other ones.
The one with the hot nurse on the cover? That might have been the one you just mentioned.
That might have been Public Enema. I don't know. They all blend together for
me. Who knows? All I know is that's made Ray feel something. But yeah, I'm actually legitimately curious to see what Ray's response to this is going to be.
Yeah. I out of the chapters that we had this week, I think that one and the Seven Deadly Sins are the ones that really make me look forward most to just the chapter next week. I mean, some like Neolation's like, oh, I want to see what happens next, but in particular, like, I want to read the next chapter now, or the Seven Deadly Sins and Promised Neverland. So,
it was a really great chapter. Let's move on then to also a pretty good chapter, I think. Maybe it goes. I don't know. Black Clover, page 192. 2 Crimson Fists. So last time the group
is that like separated. Is that like a lyric from 12 Days of Christmas? And the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 fists and a black sword that solves everything. I'm gonna do this. Hang on.
I think, guys, we have a Christmas bonus pod ready for this year. Already in February. So yeah, last time the group that are invading the dark place or dark space, whatever it was called, Dark Palace, they got separated into Sephiroth, and they are basically traversing their way through it, individual orbs with individual fights. And one of them is Fuego Leon versus the guy who's the new purple orca captain who is taken over by an elf. But it's okay, because I don't remember either character's name.
This is the most Sasakibe-ass thing that we've had in Black Clover so far.
They mentioned it like, oh, that gentleman, Lord Kaiser, is both able and honorable. I expected that he would step into the role of captain for the sake of his subordinates, even though he dislikes standing out. In the capital, his wife was worried about him. Hey, Master
I'm just imagining like he's thinking all this stuff, and meanwhile the elf who's possessing him is just like picking his nose.
He's just like, wait, what?
Such a dignified and honorable and awesome character.
Wait, what did you say my dude used to do? Oh no, I write angry Yelp reviews on places I haven't been to. That's my thing.
I just downvote reviews of movies that I like without watching the review first.
Dislike Dawn of Justice, how dare you?
Release the Snyder Cut!
Like, it's out! You can see it!
No, it's not the one that it's not the good one, therefore it's not the real one.
I want the 7-hour one, where they cut nothing, including takes where they make the say the rights wrong.
I want the one with all the raw footage, where every time that one of the actors messed up a take, they just started over again without cutting.
I want the one where Ben Affleck accidentally burps a little bit, and little bits of food get onto the guy who's playing Doomsday.
I want the one where they didn't digitally correct Henry Cavill's mustache out.
So Fuego Leon is like, give him back! God damn it! I want him back. He's too honorable of a person for you to take. And then he fires his magic. But this guy, because he's a magic captain, he's so honorable and cool. He's got the powerful vortex magic, which I guess just spins magic around him and then launches it back at you. I'm like, I feel like mirror magic suffice to do similar things to this, but whatever.
They have their own type of magic, Chris.
Yeah, everyone's got a very distinct identity.
Everyone's got their own type of magic.
So they're like, he's able to expand the magic and it lets him withstand everything. Nothing's going to work against him, even Salamander's fire. And then we cut over to Veto, who's fighting Mary Leona. And essentially, like 30% of Mary Leona's dialogue this chapter can be described as, wah ha 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 ha! Because she does that quite a few times.
She does it a lot, yeah. Lots of laughing in this one.
She's screaming and laughing because this is such a cool fight. Veto's super strong.
And we're just punching each other.
They're just punching each other in explosions. And she's like, I haven't fought a one-on-one with a kid like him in so much time. Oh, not since that one time. She thinks back to the day she fought Fuego Leon at some point. And then we cut over to Fuego Leon, who thinks about that fight as well, where they also fought at some point. And he's like, this unfair strength reminds me of my sister. And they think back to when they were kids. And Mary Leona was like, you're a wimp. Let's do this. And then she'd punch people. And Fuego Leon was like, oh, God, she annoys me. And she would just scream into a room going, wah, ha, ha, ha.
Just punch buildings, like, you know.
Yeah, it looks like she does at points, just punches random stuff at people. There's a whole thing of like, oh, she must be so strong if she's able to run off on her own and not be like affected by it anyway. There's literally like, it goes from one scene where there's a shot of Fuego Leon looking frustrated as she like charges into a dungeon going wah ha ha, to another shot of her running away randomly going wah ha 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 again.
Also, their instructor says like, "Oh, just leave her be, because if she follows her instincts, she'll get stronger all on her own." That's the type of genius she is. But also, very important detail: she refers to Fuego Leon as Fuegi, which I'm just gonna call him that forever from now.
Old Fuegi.
Oh, Fuegi.
And then they're a little bit older, and Fuego Leon's like, "Aren't you gonna join the Crimson Lions?" She's like, "Why not? Like." You could be the strongest magic knight eventually. You could be the wizard king. You're so strong. And she's like, nah, don't want to. Want to go around to random places and see magic places and shit. And sounds boring if I would have to do that. So I'm not going to deal with it. I don't want to be taken away from my globe trotting to deal with like guard duties and wimpy criminals. So Fuego Leon's like, then allow me to train against you just once. Let's do this. And the description says, later on, the massive fight between the eldest son and daughter of the Royal House of Million would become known as the Tuesday of Blood and Flames.
Which seems bizarrely jokey for a moment that's supposed to have such a deep impression on both of them. Just was like, and then they sparred and burned the entire castle down.
And then they fought and burned their house down as their family watched on in horror. But basically, the two of them can't stop complimenting one another. Like they get hit, and they're just like, "Ha! You think you're the strongest? Ah!" It's like, "Nope, my brother's the strongest." And it's like, "Well, once I defeat you, there'll be no one left fighting." Like, "Nope, you're wrong, because my sister's an even worthy opponent." And they kind of like say these phrases in mirror time when they're basically like, yeah, she's free and unorthodox, nothing binds her, and like, oh yeah, he's so intense, nothing gets by him, everyone follows his lead, and they're like, they are the one worthy of being the strongest, and then they beat them. They both just punch their opponent really, really hard and win.
Would a flame arm actually like? Would you actually like, be punched by that, or would just fire now?
I don't know. I really don't know if flame arms have muscles to them that can generate force, but sure, I guess not. It's magic. But they both won. I do enjoy, like, one of my favorite kind of things in media is seeing like the relationships of siblings explored.
Sure.
And this is definitely one of the more unique ones. Like, it's kind of cool seeing a brother and sister who are both like admirable of each other's strength, like a rivalry created between that. So I kind of dug the chapter from that regard. It's a little bit like you said, where it's just like they didn't really have enough time to build up the Purple Orc as captain, so it's like 2 pages at the start of the chapter, like, he's so incredible, no one's ever seen his magic before and lived to tell the tale.
That's kind of just the fatal flaw of Black Clover, is that you've got all these good guys that it's like you're building up and building up and building up, and then their opponent's just like, there's just a guy, in so many occasions. There's a few villains here and there that are properly established. By this point, like, okay, Patry, at least what they're about and their powers, and he's gotten to kill the Wizard King and stuff. But even like Veto is like, all right, he's just a guy they beat before, and he's this beast magic guy. Is okay. And then you have to spend all this time like, oh, here's who this guy is. Here's this Kaiser guy. That's who he is. Yeah.
And
okay.
There is meant to be like,
and he's lost. So there you go.
There's meant to be this like cool moment where like, how do you get past his magic? So Fuego Leon sends Salamander out to be a decoy and uses all of his magic to block that. So then, Fuego Leon slips in underneath and then punches him. And it's like, whoa, what a crazy move. There's a moment like that. I like this chapter and what it tries to do, maybe more than 100% how it's executed. Because neither ending here feels particularly satisfying. But I mean, to be honest, this arc has felt like it's just spinning its wheels, waiting for the final fight to eventually happen anyway. So, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not. I think that the actual the focus of the chapter is fine, definitely. In terms of this is the stuff that this the sibling relationship and what drives the two of them forward. It's just that Black Clover constantly does this in terms of like we're going to build up the good guys and then do basically nothing with the bad guys, and then it doesn't really feel like anything when the bad guys get defeated. That was one of the reasons why I thought it was a good thing when we were getting all these possessions going on, because like, okay, well, you built up all these characters that are getting possessed, so at least we'll have, a sense of the importance of these, villains that they have to go up against. And it hasn't really felt that way in a lot of cases because so many of them were dealt with so easily. But we'll see. I mean, some of the fights that we've got coming up are going to actually, be like, oh, okay, well, at least we know who Real is, even if, fuck Real, But at least, Asta's going to go up against the point that we know what they're about. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, let's finish things off with One Piece, chapter 932, Shogun and Oiran. We open the chapter with Komurasaki, that beautiful woman of beautiful, beautiful beauty. And she plays on that Japanese guitar that I forget what exactly it's called. It's the kind that it has the rectangular pick. And people freak out. It's like, oh my god, it's such a beautiful sound. And she's dressed like the geisha that like opens the acts of the arc. So I wonder if the idea is that she actually is her, or if that whatever. Anyway, they would all look the same anyhow. Freaking One Piece females. So. Meanwhile, Robin has been cornered by a bunch of ninjas, and the leader of the ninjas says, like, if you actually say why you were creeping around here, I will grant you the gift of an instant painless death. What were you doing? And Robin does, try to be innocent. She's like, I was looking into the flows of money through the flower capital. Oh, all right. Caesar! Ah! And they like throw a bunch of shuriken at her legs and grab her with a rope and stuff. And she's like, oh, no. We know that Ushimitsu Kozo, who she claimed to be, was already in the capital a short while ago. And she disintegrates into petals. And they're like, what the fuck? What happened? Where is she? And Robin's like, it's a good thing I used a clone just in case.
It is cool. It is like a unique thing to see that like Robin has that now, like in her full repertoire to create like full clones of herself,
as opposed to just a single body part. All right, so they're like, oh well, she can't be too far. She communicates to her teammates that I've been spotted to Nami and to Usopp and Shinobu. So they tell her like, well, oh well, she got seen. That sucks. They just kind of freak out about it for a little bit, and she ends up getting back to the main party, and they're like, oh, you new girl, come closer. And she's like, okay, I guess I'll just hide here then. She kind of does a geisha thing with the emperor. He's like, I'm so sorry, I do have many things to wish to speak with you. I was like, oh, are you trying to become my official wife? And Komurasaki is like, oh no, you're so cruel, I want to be that. And it's so weird to cut between like him talking with Robin and him talking with Komurasaki. He's like, if you didn't have those freaking flowers in your hair, I would not tell you apart. God damn it.
Nick, also, Robin has extra lines on her nose. It gives it a more geometrical shape, and that's how you're supposed to tell, Nick.
Oh my god, fuck off.
Oda's art style is very distinct.
So, there is a little bit of, some side characters commenting to remind you, like, remember what Komurasaki's really like. She's not, some perfect angel. She's a fucking cruel, awful person. But they say like, well, but considering the type of person that Onigashima is, you would probably forgive that anyway because he's such a greedy asshole who loves beautiful things. So, Kyoshiro has a couple of guys talk to him and they say like, oh, I'm sure that you keep a firm handle on her. And he says something weird I'm not sure if this is better or worse than what the guys were implying, because he says, "You have confused a geisha for a pet dog. A person is a flower. If you are not the clear, pristine water at her roots, how is a woman to bloom into her true beauty?" It's like, is that good or bad? Aren't you a freaking... You have pleasure halls still, so I don't know how I feel about you saying this.
I'm just saying you have to water geishas.
Or they just has a bunch of women in vases back at home.
He's like, see, I know what I'm doing. They're not dogs, they're plants.
This makes more sense. But some of them are like, "Oh yeah, I'm very impressed by your Yakuza ways, boss." And Onigashima's like, "Yes, you're right, Kyoshiro. One's enemies must always be crushed with nothing less than overwhelming force to ensure that they can never strike back again, even if they might be ghosts." And everyone's just like, and he goes on praising the Kyoshiro family and stuff. About the job that they do. But then he says, like, "Oh, now everyone listen up, because I'm going to only say this once, because it's the 20th year since the death of Kozuki Odin, the year of vengeance, according to what his wife Toki said. Odin's will yet lives." And everyone's like, oh my god. "Oh, remember the Akazaya 9. We got to remember them, those men with their red scabbards who were so strong." And someone's like, "But they're all dead now. And the Kinemon is most brilliant." No, he was. It's just a memory now. "They've returned! I swear, they definitely did it! So I want you all to kill them!" And everyone basically just doesn't believe him, because they're like, "Oh my god, just don't say anything," because he's this crazy old man still scared of stuff. But eventually, as he goes on, Kyoshiro says, if Kinemon and the Akazaya should appear, I would welcome it, because I could show you the chance to show you my skill with the blade. But he says, "It's good to have you on my side, because I know that Odin is dead because he died before my eyes, but his son Momonosuke still lives, and the boy's body was never found. The blood of the Kozuki clan has not yet died out, and they seek to return the Kozuki name to power." And he gets to a point where he's gone on so long that some of the people in the hall are actually starting to stifle laughs because he sounds so crazy to them. He's, reacting to this ridiculous nightmare. And he basically, but they also think he sounds like a paranoid coward, and they're trying so hard to suppress their laughter. But eventually someone does just bust out laughing, and this pisses off Onigashima. And oh my gosh, it's fucking Otoko. All right, they're here because Komurasaki is here. And the reason that they're laughing is because everyone's actually making fun of the Shogun behind his back, and that's what's so funny. So something happens here that I did not really expect to happen, because Onigashima draws his sword and is going to cut down Otoko, and Komurasaki stands up and says, "She's just a child, just stop." And Onigashima is like, "You shut up," and slashes at Otoko. I think that Robin jumps in here.
No,
I think that's what's going on.
Well, Robin gets Otoko afterwards.
Oh, okay. So Komurasaki, I think, steps in the panel where he first slashes at her.
Yeah, she steps in, slaps him across the face.
Just smacks him.
Yeah,
really hard.
No, you're not going to do it. I'm not going to grovel. And while that's happening, Robin uses her powers to basically move Otoko away, and then grabs her and is running away with her when all the 8-headed dragon shit happens. I could tell, Nick, because she had extra lines on her nose.
Well, I was trying to figure out, because it's the panel where he first slashes and cuts through the divider. I think that's actually the women who were just trying to get Otoko to shut up.
It might have been.
Yeah. And so then he tries to follow up on it, and then that's when Komurasaki shows up, smacks him across the face, and people are like, bow down before him and apologize. And she says, "I refuse. I do not grovel before anyone." And she does say something really cool, which is, "When I know that I am in the right, I do not need to give an inch." And Onigashima is actually just shocked by this at first. But she says, "If you would prefer a weak woman, then strike me down right now. I am the daughter of a samurai. I will not disgrace myself." And Onigashima goes into his Yamato no Orochi form with all the freaking dragon heads swirling around. And it actually looks really goofy when you look closely at the heads because they've still got all the buck teeth. So it's like, oh, okay. He calls her a glorified harlot. Wow, oh, uncalled for. Asshole. Robin gets Otoko out of there. And, of course, the ninjas show up at that point. And they're like, don't let that woman escape. And finally, Kyoshiro stands up and he says, well, Bedlam has arrived. And he starts to draw his sword. Ooh. So, certainly some things in this chapter that I was like, oh, well, okay. I guess Komurasaki is actually good? But I guess it makes sense to think about it because it's like, maybe she was just trying to rip off all the people in the capital who have a bunch of money. So that means that they're part of the ruling elite, which means that they, would have been allied with Onigashima and thus against the original Wano rulers. And if that's the case, then if she is the daughter of a samurai, then maybe she's part of this Akazaya group. So
she very well could be. I'd be interested. I'm interested to see what it's going to be going towards. It's stuff that's hard to really put too much of a speculation on because this has been, I don't know, at least for me, this has been a very dense arc in comparison to some of the other ones. It feels like there's a lot of political stuff kind of going on, a lot of characters to kind of keep track of. So I kind of need to wait to see how things kind of boil out to really digest a ton of thoughts. But I did enjoy this chapter. I always like those One Piece moments where a character stands up to the absurdly douchebag super asshole guy. And it's nice to see he just gets fucking just crushed across the face. And I like that also people are all trying to the whole keep themselves from snickering at his stupid fucking no, I know they're alive. I mean, he's actually right. But
he's actually right. Yeah,
alive! They're coming for me and my money in my sleep.
I also really love the final shot of Onigashima just staring down Komurasaki in his full dragon form, and she's just standing up to him. It's a cool, use of the size difference that she's just standing there to protect Otoko. So
the best moment of the entire chapter, though, is of course the cover page where Caesar Clown is writing, hiring signs to build a weapon of mass slaughter together that goats are just consecutively eating around him. And
he's trying to hand make a bunch of posters so they can put them up as flyers, and they're just even the ones he's posted around town, someone just going,
and he doesn't seem to, I doesn't know. He's just yes.
They're taking them from the completed stack just next to his arm, and he's not realizing.
And he's just let's put together mass weapons of slaughter and obliteration together.
Children kidnappers, welcome.
Good times.
All right, that's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. Let's name our favorites for this week. Favorite series and MVP. Chris, you already said that it was...
Dr. Stone is my favorite series this week.
I'm going to agree with that, if for no other reason than Kaseki and Minami showing up in the Steam Gorilla. It's such an awesome shot.
And my MVP for the week is going to be Emma. It was going to be Kaseki, and Kaseki is a very good option, but I just greatly enjoyed what this chapter did for Emma and really kind of gave her a pretty compelling kind of arc to really cement this moral dilemma going forward.
I gave mine to Gevaudan in the lation. Very good establishing villain moment for him. The fact that he just completely out-predicts and outplays Neo in this exchange that they have in this first meeting.
And there is a tie for both of them for the audience poll. Neolation and Dr. Stone both tied for the series of the week, and then Kaseki and Emma both tied for character of the week. So it's all in good place.
Kaseki for showing up looking like a badass.
I mean, look, don't get me wrong, I greatly considered it, but it was hard after realizing how much I loved that Emma chapter to not give it to her.
All right, that's going to do, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for Weekly Manga Recap. We record the show on smashcast.tv/RoloT and twitch.tv/RoloT Mondays, usually around 7 to 8 Eastern Time. sometimes we do need to change things up if something comes up. So you can follow us on social media to stay updated on changes. The Twitter for the official podcast account is at WMR Podcast, and your hosts are at RilloT and at Nick F. Time. Be sure to check out our past episodes on weeklymanga.podbean.com, as well as on iTunes, and also the videos on YouTube. And if you do that, be sure to, of course, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating, help out the algorithms so that we can stand as kings of the hobby section and defeat the woodworkers. If you would like to ask us questions, if you just want to send us some feedback, you can send that stuff to us via email to weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com. You can also use that to make suggestions for future manga for us to read, but you can also just do that by joining our Discord server. We have an entire chat set up just for making suggestions, and Ninja X3i has an entire spreadsheet laid out for the previous recommendations that we've taken, as well as existing recommendations that you can chime in and upvote on to see that to let us know that multiple people want us to read that. Special thanks go out to all of our Patreon supporters. You can hear support allows us to create all sorts of fun bonus content for you guys to enjoy. And special thanks to Steve Mann, our talk artist, and to Infamous Planet for the stuff that you do. And for our bonus stuff, we recently recorded the bonus episode for February, so that should be up there soon.
Yes, that should be up there very soon. It's good stuff too.
Yeah, it was really fun to record.
We should say it. It's a showdown where we turn non-harem series into harem manga.
Pitch the series as harem versions of the story. Yes. So it's a very romantic, thing to do for Valentine's Day. Just, what do you do? Surround someone with, sexy people. That's what romance is all about.
How do I make these characters fuck? Is what we had to ask ourselves for each and every series.
And really, as a podcast that is essentially just expressing your fandom of different manga, that's like the most romantic thing you can do is just ship. So
exactly. So look forward to that, guys.
Yeah. That's going to do it. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.
Or will we, Nick?
I mean, I don't know.
What if we become ghosts?
Well, if we become ghosts, then we'll need to possess people and have them be the new hosts of the show.
Interesting.
Yes.
Who would you possess for your host? Because obviously we both get to pick one.
Chris Evans.
Well, now you've taken my pick,
so
I don't know. I guess I'll just have to go into my next pick, Liam Neeson. He hasn't been in the news for anything yesterday, has he?
Goodbye, everyone.